Mr. Johns, please.
Thanks. Thank you all for being here. We know, I'm going to start with you, Ms. Gregory, just to kind of systematically go through my questions. We know Canada is a world leader in airborne surveillance, anti-submarine warfare, and aerospace. But in May of this year, 16 Canadian aerospace and defense executives sent a letter to the Prime Minister and also to the relevant ministers at the time, Minister Champagne, Anand, and Jacek, asking them to allow an open CMMA competition instead of the sole source for the American-made P-8. Now, I hope you agree that Canadian aerospace and defense industries are world-renowned, and if so, do you accept the assertion from these industry leaders that the Canadian government failing to allow our domestic sectors to even compete on this contract will do significant reputational damage on the world stage? And how do you expect allied governments to invest in Canadian aerospace and defense if the government of Canada won't even let them compete?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. I think it's well known from Canada's aerospace and defense sector that it is difficult to sell internationally. That's what companies often tell my department and me. It is difficult to sell internationally if they're not selling within Canada. Canada has a very strong and capable aerospace industry. It's mostly top three in civil elements of aerospace, civil simulators, civil engines, and civil aircraft. So from the perspective of a defense procurement, I think the strength of Canada's aerospace industry on the defense side has been more as a supplier as opposed to an OEM. I think your point that it is very, very important. We hear constantly from industry that supplying to the Government of Canada is an important element for the defense sector. And for the aerospace
I'll dive into the supply side. We know that the Boeing product does not provide sovereign control of the intellectual property to Canada, and approvals for any future modifications, they must be granted by the U.S. military. Meanwhile, both Unifor, representing over 11,000 Canadian aerospace workers, and the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers have issued letters to the federal government saying that awarding a sole source contract for the American-made P-8A threatens Canadian aerospace jobs. Can you confirm that no Canadian workers will build Canada's P-8 Poseidons?
Thank you for the question. The Poseidon aircraft, what I understand, it's based on a Boeing platform for which there are certain subcomponents built in Canada, but overall the platform is produced in the United States. So it's unlikely that there will be a lot of direct Canadian content on that aircraft.
To go back to what you initially talked about in terms of supplying those jobs, you know, given Canada's recent inability to negotiate any guaranteed supply chain work on the F-35 fleet that we're currently procuring, how confident are you that you'll be able to negotiate guaranteed industrial and technological benefits for Canadian industry and workers equal to the full value of the P-8 contract, of at least $7 billion? And would you agree that a sole source contract where industrial offsets will be negotiated after the approval of the purchase cannot in any way guarantee maximum economic benefits for Canada, a defense procurement priority outlined in Canada's own defense strategy policy, strong, secure, and engaged?
Thank you for the question. Our policy for industrial technological benefits can apply to foreign military sales, and it can apply to directed procurement. So what would happen in that case is we would negotiate an agreement with the provider. So if it were Boeing, we would negotiate with Boeing to conduct industrial benefits of the value of the contract in Canada. So as you say, they wouldn't necessarily be directly on the platform that's purchased, but they could very well and often are in commercial procurements, commercial activities that occur across Canada. Boeing has obligations already on previously purchased aircraft.